Laura Goldman, the dietitian. So welcome back, or welcome if it's your first time. This presentation is actually very similar to the first two presentations I gave. And so some of this might seem familiar to you if you're returning, but it's always nice to have a refresher. And for everyone else, I hope that you enjoy this presentation and get the information that you're looking for out of all of this. So we're going to be focusing on protein, which is probably what you've been focused on since day one practically. And so protein power, why it's essential for weight loss and health. And let's get started, shall we? So I like to always start this by saying, remember, the quality of your calories matters, and that's why we are focused on protein in the first place. The quality is going to be very important, especially when quantity of calories might be a bit shorter than we're used to. So what we will cover today: what is protein and why is it important? How much do I need? Where can it be found? And what are some potential tricks and solutions to add some variety if you're getting tired of the same old protein? And finally, at the end, as always, they leave time for a question and answer session. This is open to you to ask any questions about today's topic, or if you have any other nutrition questions that you've been wondering about and would like to ask me, that will be your time to shine. And as always, just so you know, and I'll repeat it again at the end, but I believe the question button is at the bottom left of your screen, and you can submit it with your name, or you can have it anonymous, whichever you prefer. So what is protein? It's one of the most basic questions, but we want to start out from the basics here. So it is one of the big three nutrients, otherwise known as macronutrients, versus micronutrients, which you would be considering as your vitamins or minerals. And so they are one of the big three nutrients that our body needs to function. It's a necessary part of your muscles, bones, hair, cells, really your entire body. It is comprised of protein. And it can also be used for energy. And what we mean by energy really is not that get up and go feeling, but calories, and so that you can be moving your body. Protein is made up of the building blocks. They're called amino acids, and different amino acids are used for different jobs, so to speak, in the body. So some are focused toward hormones, some are focused towards cell building. It depends on each amino acid. Now, there are amino acids that our bodies can put together on their own by taking from other protein. However, there are 9 amino acids that our body cannot make, and we must get those from the food we eat. And those are referred to as essential amino acids. And I'm sure you've heard that term at least once or twice in your life. So we've talked about what it is and what it's used for. So what is the big focus on protein? And I've sort of broken it down into protein is used for maintenance as well as prevention when it comes to what's going on with us. So it helps maintain our muscle mass or lean body mass, helps maintain our metabolism and keep it moving. And it also helps keep our immune system working properly. And it helps prevent. So if you're getting in enough protein, it can help prevent hair loss, some types of hair loss, of course, and also can prevent skin and nail problems, other health problems, as well as fluid buildup in the body, or otherwise known as edema. It's not the only reason that people experience edema, but it can be a reason. And also, weight loss isn't just fat loss. As much as many of us wish it could be, it just simply isn't. We always lose a little bit of muscle and fat as we lose weight. And so while that comes with the territory of any weight loss program, really, we want to make sure that we can prevent excessive muscle loss with getting in enough protein to help maintain our muscles. And of course, if you're appropriate for exercise, doing exercise also can help maintain your muscles as long as you're getting in enough protein as well. And also, muscle helps burn calories. So as we lose weight, our body tends to require fewer calories. But if we want to keep our metabolic rate running as well as we can hope for it to run, then maintaining that muscle mass is going to be important as well. So you may ask, well, how much do I need? And it does depend on the individual. I make individualized recommendations for people frequently, and so they're not all the same because it does depend on what you weigh and where we're starting, and can also depend on certain health factors. But in general, you can go up to about 1.5 grams per kilogram of body weight, which is about 0.7 grams per pound. Nobody's really looking to count that out, but I wanted to mention that. And some good starting recommendations can be about 120 grams a day for men or 90 grams a day for women. Also, it's important to try and space it out. So rather than having one enormous tomahawk steak, so to speak, you would really want to try and space it out to getting about 30 grams at a time. It seems to be more beneficial that your body is going to use it more effectively and in the ways that you want by spacing it out throughout the day. And by the way, I put a little note at the bottom that the information on protein can also be found in the booklet you likely got from Premier Weight Loss. And that starts on page 6, and it can give you some also examples of what serving sizes of protein equal certain amounts of protein. So where can it be found? Some of this is probably self-explanatory, of course, but from whole food sources, because we also have supplements, which we'll touch on, but whole food sources, you can get the animal-based, of course, very standard meat, poultry, your fish, and also dairy, as well as eggs. But you can also get valuable and healthy plant-based sources of protein as well, such as your beans or peas, soy, nuts and nut butters, which are very handy, especially in times when you need a healthy snack, as well as grains and pseudo grains, such as gluten, seitan, or quinoa. And one of the benefits of plant-based proteins is it also gives you a lot of fiber, and it's lower in fat in general. So that does add quite a bit of benefit. Of course, remember again, quality matters. I know we're focusing on protein, and that's important. The quality of your protein is important. So you want to try and aim for lean proteins as often as possible, but also limit breaded and fried versions. I wanted to leave a list here of some plant-based proteins because this is a good option to add more variety to your diet. But I think sometimes we're wondering whether or not the plant-based proteins give us enough protein or what we could really expect from that. So I wanted to have this list up here that would show you what the serving size and the equivalent amount of protein in grams you could expect to get from that. So you can still get some pretty decent amounts from, say, tempeh or even peanuts, which surprised me, and tofu, which is pretty well expected. So you can still get quite a bit from these plant-based proteins. Now, where else can you find protein? Well, I would be remiss if we didn't talk about supplements or meal replacements. And because protein supplements are very popular, you can see them pretty much in any grocery store or any other fitness area, and they can be useful for you. They do come in forms of powders or bars, as well as already ready-made drinks. And I should mention here, meal replacements essentially also contain more than just the protein. So they're aimed to replace an entire meal where you would be expecting to get some carbohydrates, some fat, and usually a vitamin and mineral blend. Whereas the protein supplement is typically just protein, maybe a little bit of carbs, maybe a little bit of fat, but not a whole lot else. So it can be a useful tool, especially if you tend to feel full quickly, or say you just didn't get enough protein at a meal or during the day, because life is unpredictable sometimes and you might just not have a chance. So that can be a useful tool to bring with you. They're usually very portable. And also they're very helpful for muscle recovery after a workout. Typically you want to try and get in some protein about 30 minutes, maybe an hour after a workout, just to help repair that muscle. When it comes to the supplements, though, you do want to aim for about 15 to 40 grams of protein per serving, because you might see some protein bars marketed just containing 5 grams of protein, and that's not quite as helpful. So you want to try and aim for that if you can. And on page 9 of the booklet, they also give you some helpful guidelines on sugar content and fiber content, as well as calories, because it could maybe have 40 grams of protein, but it could also be extremely unhealthy in other ways. So you just want to pay attention to that. Now, since we're touching on supplements, I believe that there are so many out there. I wanted to give you a little breakdown of some of the terminology you might come across, just so you can navigate it the best that you want to. So of course, there are various types that I'm sure you've seen labeled where they'll say this is 100% whey protein or whey and casein, which of course are dairy sources. Then I'm sure you've all seen the collagen proteins out there, as well as egg whites. Also, in terms of plant-based, you can get pea, soy, or hemp proteins. And yes, even cricket protein exists out there, although I wouldn't necessarily recommend that one. Not for me anyway. There's also different forms of these proteins that you'll see, and you might see these labels. I see it especially with whey protein, where they might say concentrate, whey protein concentrate. Well, what that means is they've concentrated the protein source by removing water and some other components, but in general, it's not a whole lot is removed. You might still see some fat in there. You'll probably see some carbs. And if you're lactose intolerant and it's a whey protein, possibly casein as well, it's not going to be lactose free. The next step, though, is you might see protein isolate. And so what they're doing there is they are isolating the protein by removing what I refer to as the extras, such as fat, lactose, and things like that. So they're trying to really focus in on the protein itself. The good news there is typically at this point, again, if you're doing a whey protein and you're lactose intolerant, your chances are you're going to be able to tolerate most of the isolates out there because they're removing that lactose to a decent enough degree. But use what you can tolerate, of course. And then finally, you may see the term hydrolysate. And that means actually the protein is broken down. Hydrolyze means to sort of break. And so it's pre-digested, if you will, into smaller parts. So your body can more easily absorb it. And some people appreciate that. They want it to just get absorbed more quickly. And it can be, again, usually a bit more tolerated, more easy to digest for some people. So if that's something that you might have trouble with, it could be worth it to look into. However, another way you can translate some of these, if they're all one and the same to you, is when it comes to money. So essentially, concentrate is the cheapest version of these protein sources. And then isolate, hydrolysate, you can see that the price increases because, of course, they're doing a little more to each type. You may also hear the terms complete or incomplete protein. This works with supplements, but also counts for food as well. And so a complete protein is one that contains enough amounts of all 9 essential amino acids. Basically, you're going to find that in the majority of animal sources. So we were talking about the meats, the fish, chicken. However, collagen is not actually considered a complete protein. It's lacking in one in particular. That doesn't mean you can't use it, which we'll touch on. But you can also get complete protein from some plant-based sources, which some people question. Quinoa and soy are 2 of the big ones that are actually considered complete proteins. There are some people who claim that pea protein is also complete. Other people disagree with that because it's a bit lower in methionine, but take that as you will. But pea protein is still a very valuable protein to have. An incomplete protein is a protein that is inadequate or completely lacks one of those 9 essential amino acids. Now, this isn't really something to necessarily worry about. If you're eating a variety of foods, you'll likely get in all 9 of your essential amino acids. So don't necessarily avoid those types of proteins. They're still adding value in other ways. Now, say you've been on this path for a while and you are tired of thinking about chicken. You're tired of thinking about eggs. What else can be done? And so there are a few solutions, or maybe this is a way to look into other avenues. And so swapping is one option, which actually in page 8 of your booklet, they give you some protein swaps that you could use. And this is allowing you to sort of think outside the box, not necessarily thinking of a grilled piece of meat. Other swaps, of course, you can use hummus on a sandwich instead of mayonnaise, or use roasted chickpeas or seeds or nuts as a salty snack. Or some people really enjoy the keto cereals like Magic Spoon because you're still getting that sweetness without getting all the sugar. You're actually getting a high protein, low carb type of snack. You could also switch. So we talked about plant proteins, but it's kind of a hard switch to make. And I would never expect anyone to go from being, a carnivore to a vegan or a vegetarian. But perhaps meatless Mondays could be something to try out. Plant-based proteins can be delicious, and some of the recipes, they're getting better and better. So it's not the tofurkey of yesteryear. And then finally, changing up your supplements. So I think a lot of us are familiar with the milky type of protein supplements out there. There are some other options. So if you're tired of those milkshake styles, which I can imagine might get a bit boring, or just perhaps some people even find them gross to a degree after a while, there are clear protein options out there. I know that Premier Weight Loss has a few that they offer in the office. And there are some others that I've found on the company's own websites or on Amazon, of course. But protein waters, I think, have been a real big hit with a variety of people. Some that I have looked up and feel are confident to recommend that would be helpful are things like Isopure Ready to Drink or Protein 2.0, as well as Ready Protein Water. There are also clear powders. Seek, which I believe they list on page 9, is one as an option. And I actually was in Target earlier today, and they had Seek out on display, ready to be bought. So it is out there, available and easy to find. Also, broths or soups or hot drinks, that might be a way to add that variety. You don't have to always just do the cold protein. And so there are a couple companies that focus in on this type of product, or actually a variety of protein supplement products for people who have had bariatric surgery. But I think they're also well geared and valuable for people who are on weight loss medications. So two of my favorites are Unjury or Berry Wise. And so those are two excellent brands. And I've shown a couple images up to the right. You can see the Unjury broths that they offer. And of course, as I mentioned, page 9 and page 34, they give you some great examples if you haven't tried any of those yet. So also great resource, that booklet. So putting it together, protein is vital for our body's health and maintenance, and definitely a priority while we're losing weight to help maintain what we've got going on, and perhaps even build a little muscle mass if we're working toward that goal. We can find it in a variety of foods. And of course, supplements, I think, can be a very helpful tool. And there are very many out there that are worthwhile to try. And when in doubt, ask. So if you have a doubt about a certain supplement product, or if you're not sure if a food is a healthy choice, you can always ask one of the Premier Weight Loss staff, or you can have them get in touch with me, because I'm happy to answer those questions. That's what I'm here for. And with that in mind, I am now here and happy to take any questions that any of you may have at this point. Again, feel free to have your name or be anonymous. And if you think of a question after this is over and would love an answer, feel free to reach out to the staff, because they can get in touch with me and I will get back to you just as soon as I can. So I will wait here to see if any come in. And of course, I hope everyone has stayed warm in this surprising cold snap lately. Let's see here. And yes, it should be the bottom left button if you have any questions. And again, it doesn't have to be about this topic. If there's a nutrition question just in your brain, more than happy to answer those as well. And of course, if we don't have questions, that's okay too. Okay. Here's one. Are the protein waters flavored? Anita asks, have not seen before. Yes, they are. And in fact, I had made the investment to buy a couple just because I feel like, try it before you buy it is probably a good idea. I can't try everything out there, but yes. So the Ready Protein Water comes in, the one that I got, I believe, was maybe a tangerine mango, is a citrus flavor, but they also had blueberry and a lemon flavor, as well as the cotton candy grape flavor. There also was a coconut protein water, which surprised me. I didn't expect to see that. And the one flavor I got from there, I believe, was vanilla. It was the Aloha brand. I don't know as much about it, but it did have a decent amount. So yes, thankfully they're flavored because I don't think they would exactly be very appealing just plain. But that was a great question because it doesn't sound appealing on its face. And the IsoPure, I can't remember which one I pulled up, and I don't think it even says the flavor. I'm back through here, but you can see that it has the bluish tint to it. So that one also has some flavor to it as well. I do know some people who've tried the Ready Protein Water and enjoy it, so I can say with confidence that that one is well received. And did I buy online or local? So I did buy that online. I should look and see if I can find some locally though, because if I can, that sometimes can be a bit easier. So the website was where I went. I think I got it in less than a week, which was surprising, but it's definitely not exactly a discounted item. So I would be happy to look into that for you though. So I'll remember to make a note to myself and see if I can find some that are actually in the store, so you might not have to buy a whole case or something like that. And if you try them at any point in time, I'll really look forward to hearing your feedback, because even if I like something, that doesn't mean the next person will. So I think that's hearing everyone's feedback, always welcome. There were some people who during one of these webinars commented on how much they liked the Lenny and Larry's protein supplements and snacks, but there are other people who don't care for that flavor profile. So hearing from everyone is always really helpful. And when you know that they are reviewed by actual people, even better. With that, since I don't see any more Q&A coming through, and I do want to try and be respectful of everyone's time, since we're approaching the half-hour mark, if no one else has any questions, I hope that you found this informative and helpful. But again, as always, reach out at any time. Oh, wonderful. Oh, Anita, thank you, so helpful. You're very welcome, Anita. It's my pleasure. I love getting questions, and I even love getting the ones that might stump me initially, because then I can do a little research and I always learn something more. So happy to help at any time. But with that, I hope everyone has a lovely rest of the day, and stay warm out there, stay safe, and I hope to see you next time. Have a good day. Bye.